which he taught to us was As You Like It, I think, in UG. It was a memorable experience, and it was a time when I was not so inclined towards drama. And Sir came, and Vasantan Sir came, Rajkumar Sir was teaching. So those were times when we didn't have any notes as such. So we just heard the lectures, and we went and wrote our examination. So it was a fine experience. And when we went to PG, uh, Sir's teaching was totally different. It was in a different dimension, and we felt that we were entering into a different world. And especially his approach towards the play Hamlet was something which was really fantastic. Even now, all the American college students will be having some sort of impact towards Hamlet. Uh, if you ask any American college student like what play they like the most, the immediate answer will be Hamlet, and the reason why this answer would be is because of Ilango. And remember, Ilango sir had lots of fans, especially girl fans. Okay, our classmates, we used to be jealous of our classmates because we'll all be there, and all the girls will be very. They used to admire Ilango sir to the maximum extent, and such was his lecture. And there were many good traits. I think each and every growing teacher will have to learn things from sir. And the one thing is, he never wastes even a single minute. When he comes, say if the class is beginning at 10 o'clock, he'll be there sharply at 10 o'clock, and only for attendance he used to sit. And from 10:02 or 10:03 onwards, he will start lecturing, and there will be nothing in his hand. And till the end of the hour, till the bell rings, his lecture will go on. But the only problem is, sir used to be very strict in valuation. I think that is the only issue. And it is a real proud moment for me to welcome sir here. I welcome Raja Raman sir, yesterday is a resource person. And I welcome my HOD, Dr. Parthiban sir, fellow colleagues and the participants. And more than that, I just want to give a small introduction about William Shakespeare. We all know that Shakespeare was one who was born and dead on the same day. And this is a very eventful day. And as I said earlier, last session, he is relevant. He is relevant for many reasons. He shows us the real life. And when you read his plays, you can just enjoy. And every time, in every age, Shakespeare appears different. When I read Shakespearean plays today, it is totally different from what I read in the year 1993 or 94. And you know very well that Globe Theatre was erected in the year 1598, if I'm not wrong, and it was built with borrowed planks of the theatre that was built by James Burbage, if I'm not wrong. So it was a theatre that was built in 1598, and Shakespeare became partner in that theatre. And in those days, theatre was not like we don't know how much the acoustic effect was there. So people, what they used to do is they can't just, the visibility was a bit poor. So those people who went and sat in the theater, they went for listening than seeing. When a guy who used to leave his home in London in those days, he'll immediately say that he's going to hear the play. And you'll never say like he's going to watch a play. So that was the thing. And I, as a student of literature, have been fascinated by Elizabethan age for different reasons. And Shakespeare is one reason. And I love England very much for that particular reason. And even last year when I went to Stratford-upon-Avon, I told that I had a different type of experience. It was a great experience. And really, it was a very proud moment. And I think today, sir is about to speak about history plays. You know, history plays actually deals with the history of England. And Shakespeare's first set of plays were history plays. And sir will be dealing it in an elaborate manner. And here we have many outsiders, in the sense outside the rim of teaching. We have Kavita Periyasamy, we have many school teachers, and we also have categories called others. I don't know who, from which field are they. But anyway, it's a happy occasion, and really we are celebrating Shakespeare. And now it's time for the official or formal welcome. And formal welcome will be rendered by Mahalakshmi, ma'am.
Good evening to one and all. Sir, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sir. Good evening to one and all. In view of William Shakespeare's 460th birth anniversary, the Department of English CNC has organized online lecture trilogy to honor the enduring legacy of Shakespeare. Each segment in our lineup is a tribute to the great writer, a hearty commemoration imbued with appreciativeness. It's my pleasure and privilege to decor this platform with the beaded words, a beacon of light in the halls of fame. For in the realm of knowledge he did reign, an erudite scholar, a true gem of the brain. He is none other than our the great American Professor N. Ilango, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, we are honored and privileged to have him with us today. Sir is a visionary leader, a distinguished scholar, and a passionate educator who has dedicated his life to the pursuit of excellence and innovation in the field of literature. Sir has 36 years of teaching experience and 40 years of theatre activities. He was tutored by Dr. Love in MA program and Dr. K. Chellappan in MPhil program, and he was taught drama by Professor J. Vasandan, sir. He is a counselor in IGNOU for Diploma in Theatre Arts. He is a founder and director of Fourth Wall Theatre. The Fourth Wall Theatre is an on-campus academic theatre which stages plays by classic playwrights annually, which are watched by more than 5,000 strong audiences from academic institutions all over the state. The performances run for an entire week from Monday through Saturday with two shows every day. The major productions of Fourth Wall Theatre include Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream, The Merchant of Venice, Macbeth, As You Like It, Twelfth Night, Romeo and Juliet, The Taming of the Shrew, and Hamlet, and John Webster's Touches of Malfi. Fourth Wall Theatre has also staged successfully for the first time in Tamil Nadu Girish Karnad's Hayavadana in 2000 and revived it in 2019. Fourth Wall has also staged modernist plays such as Eugene O'Neill's The Hairy Ape, Edward Albee's Jew Story, and Samuel Beckett's Act Without Words Part 1. Fourth Wall Theatre also worked with Theatre Live under the auspicious veteran Tamil actor Nasser. He has been chosen to be the chief translator cum editor of Theatre Live series of books, which comprises nearly 200 lectures on drama and cinema delivered by the most eminent theatre and film personalities from all over India and abroad. He was the resource person of the first of its kind in offline international hybrid conference on applied theatre. He has conducted theatre workshops all over Tamil Nadu. Sir is the official translator of the transgender and social activist Kalki Subramanian's poems, and also for the award-winning filmmaker and poet Sinu Ramasamy. His translation of Sinu Ramasamy's 100 plus Tamil poems is available as The Days of Small Brook. He has translated all the 1,330 sacred couples of Thiruvalluvar. Sir also has authored a book titled Film Appreciation for Beginners. His Tamil translation of T.S. Eliot's The Wasteland awaits publication. Besides, his overwhelming accomplishment sweeps us with pride and honor, and his testimonials knows no bounds with his seminars at various institutions like Tyagarajar College Madurai, Majora College Madurai, VHNSN College Virudhunagar, SRNM College Sattur, and Government Arts and Science College Sattur. Sir's ratified enthusiasm and exaltation are gratified in various boards of studies, including Arlandar College Karumathur, Sri Meenakshi Government Arts and Science College Madurai, SRNM College Sattur, and Majora College Madurai. The wisdom and experience of this individual have not only inspired but also guided countless graduates. Through his unwavering dedication and patience, he has fostered an atmosphere that encourages learning, curiosity, and personal development. So, friends, scholars, and professors, lend the ears, squint your eyes. Sir is going to twinning of our emotions, weaving of our feelings into a fine fabric of wisdom. Immerse yourself in the ocean of Ilango and pursue the pearl. Without further ado, let us unfold the beautiful tapestry of lecture from Professor N. Ilango, sir. On behalf of the Department of English CNC, we welcome you again, sir. It is our pride privilege to have you with us today. Thank you. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, Mahalakshmi ma'am. Sir, we are all set to listen to your lecture. You can start, sir.
Thank you,
So not
Mahalakshmi ma'am, for the nice words you uttered
Welcome you,
for
sir.
me. Thank you
Welcome you,
so
sir.
much. Am I audible now? Am I audible now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's a proud privilege and it's a pleasure. I feel immensely pleased to be a part of this Shakespeare celebration organized by CNM College of Erode. And as a die-hard fan of Shakespeare, I consider this as a great opportunity to pay homage to the bard on his birthday. And I'm immensely grateful for Ramachandran sir and ma'am who is going to speak tomorrow for giving me this space on this very special occasion. And since this is a very scholarly forum, I would like uh, to talk about a few facts. Some of them may be assumptions. These should be food for thoughts for you to carry and think about it as I have come across these thoughts lately after all these years of being in love with Shakespeare. If you see the slide on the screen, you can see Shakespeare being flanked by two people. And the title in itself, I have changed from English Histories to Histories, both of a hero, Shakespeare's Histories. So this thought comes to me because Histories, Shakespeare's Histories means English histories. The Roman histories cannot be called Shakespeare's history play proper. Those plays, such as Antony and Cleopatra, or Julius Caesar, or Coriolanus, may be called as historical tragedies. So, what would be the difference between historical tragedy and what the critics call about Shakespeare's history play proper? We will discuss later. Now, back to the visual you have there. These two people on your left is Machiavelli, the Florentine philosopher, a statesman and a writer. And on your right is Seneca, the Hellenistic Roman philosopher, again statesman and a writer. And these two major figures are the major influences on Shakespeare's theatre. Seldom these people are thought about since we have been always talking about Aristotelian concept of tragedy and we have taken poetics as the grammar of Western drama. But the truth is that Seneca entered Elizabethan theatre, Elizabethan world, before Aristotle could. They may be historical. Seneca may be historically, chronologically came to the world next to Aristotle, but to the Renaissance, English Renaissance theatre, Seneca was the one who entered. So this ought to be taken very seriously. And on the other hand, you have Machiavelli. Machiavelli's influence changed the entire thinking provinces of cognitive corridors of the West, especially England. Machiavelli was the one who advocated the concept it is not enough if one is good. To survive in this world, one must be smart. The exact line translated from Italy is that, from his prince, is that intrigue is the password to enter the realm of success. Intrigue. You must be very smart, intriguing, if you want to be successful. You find that in such place like the Merchant of Venice, where Antonio being good is not enough to confront an intelligent, what shall we say, a person who is caught in the Renaissance crisis, Renaissance intellectual, spiritual, philosophical crisis, someone like Shylock. So someone who is smart like Portia is needed to confront or rather the save the Christian lamb from the Jewish wolf. I'm talking a conventional orthodox approach to the Merchant of Venice. I'm not talking about post-World War approach here. This is an example. This is an example. So what happens here is Machiavellian concept. Machiavelli too, like Senecan heroes, Machiavellian characters were also started with the label of Machiavellian heroes. The precursor for perhaps today's anti-heroes or anti-heroes. So later, only later, such expressions, such quotations like he smiles and yet be a villain became tagged for Machiavelli, and Machiavellian characters turned out to be Machiavellian villains. In this context, when Shakespeare looks around, he has on one hand Machiavelli, on the other hand Seneca. Senecan heroes were Stoic heroes. So what should you have in history? Whom should we call a hero? What are the qualities of a hero? And how can a hero be really practical and street smart to win the political world? And this is a major question Shakespeare confronted. On one hand, Shakespeare would have such Stoic tragedies, Senecan tragedies, Senecan tragic heroes like Hamlet. On the other hand, he had such characters who are thoroughly disillusioned with the concept of honor like Falstaff. So between Falstaff and Hamlet, could there be any via mediac to be a man who is dynamic, who is very much practical, who is street smart, at the same time being noble? This is the question which haunts the philosophical Shakespeare. So you find the best example that comes to my mind, the best analogy that comes to my mind is an analogy to be used to understand Shakespeare's trajectory into the world of tragedy with the trajectory of Virgil into the world of epic writing. Virgil started writing epic only after having excelled in eclogue, what you call bucolics. Today we call them pastoral poems. So from Homeric, from Greek epics, when you come to Virgil's epics, there is an oceanic change between the perspective of life, perspective of man. If Homer considered man just as a pawn, man's place in this cosmic universe, Virgil started traveling into the psychic scape of the characters, especially the epic heroes, like what you call in Shagam poetry as agam, the interior landscape of the tragic heroes. So a kind of psychological approach Virgil started giving to the epic hero as an individual, not just as a representative of a civilization or even humanity, as in the case of the Paradise Lost. So on one hand you have Virgil, like that. Shakespeare entered the world of tragedy through history. It is very important. He started his career with comedies and histories before getting into writing tragic dramas. So Shakespeare, as he makes the Earl of Warwickshire in Henry IV Part 2 to speak the immortal line, there is a history in every man's life. Understanding the present as the product of the past, one can prophesy the future to its near exactitude, near exactness. Let me repeat. There is a history in every man's life. Understanding the present as the product of the past, one can prophesy the future to its near exactitude. So when Shakespeare started creating characters, if it is a tragic hero, then he would try to see him as the product of his time. And if he created a historical figure, then he would try to see him as an individual. So this kind of amalgamation, in fact, the entire gamut of Shakespearean characters can be divided into three categories. One is the type of characters whom we can call order group. The second type of characters whom we can call the perversion of order group. And the third type of characters whom we can conclude as restoration of order group. For example, if Duncan represented in Macbeth the order group, then Macbeth represents the perversion of order group, and Macduff, Malcolm, Donalbain represent the restoration of order group. If Elder Hamlet represents the order group, then Claudius represents the perversion of order group, and Hamlet represents the restoration of order group. So Shakespeare was able to perceive characters, individuals, both as individuals in themselves and also as representatives of their time and space. Certain characters, he considered them as fools of time, like Richard II, Henry Bolingbroke, Henry IV, King Lear, Othello, and so many others. And some others he considered as tailors of time, like Hamlet, like Prince Hall, who later became Henry V. Why am I mentioning now Hamlet in the same breath while I am trying to mention the name of Henry V? For me personally, but it is not unjustifiable either. For me personally, it appears that Shakespeare's ideal hero is not really between Hotspur and Falstaff. It is rather somewhere between Hamlet and Hotspur. Somebody who can represent the responsibility given to him, the crown which has been given to him, thinking freely at the same time. You see, in the history of drama, why do we have Sophocles prescribed and not Euripides? Why? What happened to Virgil? What happened to Seneca? These are some of the questions we have to ask from historical perspective. Euripides actually ran away, and the rumor is that he settled in Macedonia and died there. There are some contemporary critics who defy it, but Euripides never settled in his native land. Why was it so? Because Euripides was talking about free will, individual free will, whereas Sophocles, Aeschylus, these people were talking about classical determinism, man as predestined, man as unalterable. Any attempt made by the Dionysian to alter his fate would result in a consequence which would be more horrendous than the original fate itself, as in the case of Oedipus. You see, Virgil has also written a play on Oedipus. Why our universities are not prescribing Virgil, and why do they go for Sophocles? They go for Sophocles, they go for Aeschylus, because these people help system in the name of order to protect the hegemony, to protect the hierarchy, to protect the rulers in the name of God, or in the name of whatever you call it, in the name of temple. in the name of common weal. They never allow. As Nietzsche would say, tragedy is a conflict between the Apollonian system and the Dionysian individual free will. The Dionysus, as he was single, physically single, he is defeated by the brute majority of the Apollonian system. But what Dionysus actually does is he points out a hole in the system, the problem in the system, the demerit in the system, for which the system punishes him. Nevertheless, the system plugs the hole. But for having talked against the system punishes Dionysus. But how the virtue is rewarded? The virtue is rewarded by the sheer fact that we remember today only Dionysus, not the Apollonians. Like that, there are many people whom Shakespeare perceived as jailers of time for having talked about such free will during the time of classical age. Euripides was hunted down, so he had to leave. You know what happened to Seneca? Seneca had served beside 3 emperors: Nero's father, Nero, and Nero's son. He served as a mentor in the court for all these 3 emperors. But while serving the son of Nero, Seneca was accused of having plotted against the government, against the king. It was not an attempt to poison him or anything. It was the fact that Seneca was writing against the system indirectly by supporting directly the free will. Today, when we talk about Seneca, we remember Seneca only in 2 ways. One is Senecan revenge tragedy. Seneca never called his tragedies revenge tragedies. Seneca actually called his tragedy Senecan tragedy. He did not call it either, he just called it tragedies. We identify that as Senecan tragedy. But today we remember that only as a play which is recitatiae, a play which is improbable to be staged because of gory violence and death. It's not that. Seneca advocated Stoicism. Stoicism is not pessimism. Stoicism is suffering for a noble cause. The Stoic hero, as Hamlet asked in the famous soliloquy, to be or not to be, that is the question. Whether it is noble anything, whether it is noble in the mind to bear the slings and the arrows of outrageous fortune, to take arms against a sea of trouble and put an end to it, or to die, to sleep, perchance to dream. Hey, there is the rub. Hamlet goes on, taking all the possibilities of active resistance, passive suffering, or withdrawal from life, and where is salvation? Where is the result? It's like this. Seneca's heroes were all Stoics in the sense they were ready to suffer for a noble cause. That is how, because Seneca himself believed in endemania. It is called, maybe Lavanya can switch that to Seneca's Stoic heroes, endemania. You see, variously spelled, endemania. You see, endemania, it is there on the slide. Endemania is an individual's free will. Yes, Lavanya, you are correct. Seneca to Shakespeare. The slide Seneca to Shakespeare. Yes, you are correct. You see, endemania. Seneca to Shakespeare. You have the endemania. You see, and endemania is happiness, well-being, which can be attained by free will, which can be attained by following certain cardinal virtues, such as arete. It is called arete. Arete, the cardinal virtues, are such as being truthful, being trustworthy, being honorable, focusing upon welfare, These are some of the noble cardinal virtues through which one can attain, definitely, Seneca felt, one can attain endemania, that is happiness, well-being. So Senecan heroes were the ones who were not worried or who were not threatened by the immediate temporal setbacks. So they consistently fought against, till as Hamlet could say, rest is silence. Now, Shakespeare has these two people. One is out and out a spiritual philosopher like Seneca, who talks about cardinal virtues. On the other hand, you have somebody like Machiavelli, who says, it is like, pardon me, forgive me for being sounding excess. It is something like, I am bringing to a near possible analogy in India, in the Indian context. It is something like equal to the difference between Chanakya and Thiruvalluvar. Chanakyan is like Machiavelli. I'm not just making sweeping statements. I have Chanakya here. I have read it. Chanakya doesn't bother about the means. Chanakya believes that end justifies the means. You see, there are so many tricks, so many things which are totally unacceptable in Dravidian context, who follow Thiruvalluvar as our sage, as our sagacious advisor. Whereas Thiruvalluvar too is very meticulous in the art of management. Incidentally, Irai Anbu has written a book on the titans of philosophy, Thiruvalluvar and Shakespeare. You see, he talks about entrepreneurship, the managerial skills found both in Shakespeare and in Thiruvalluvar. I too have, for the MBA students, have taken in the MBA classes, managerial skill classes, communicative skill classes. When I had an opportunity to meet the MBA students, I took with me copies of Henriad, Henry IV Part 1, Henry IV Part 2, Henry V, to talk to them, to talk with them about the managerial skills, the art of governance, you see, leadership qualities which are talked about in Shakespeare, and very fluidly, very, what shall I say, ineffably we could move on to Thiruvalluvar. Thiruvalluvar talks about everything much in detail, and when one reads Thiruvalluvar's Arasiyal, Puruladigaram, especially Arasiyal, one is certainly reminded, an English reader is certainly reminded of Shakespeare's Henriad. You see, these Henriad, we must remember, Shakespeare did not write them in this order. There are two tetralogies. It begins with Richard II and ends with Richard III. These plays, the two tetralogies, 8 plays together. Richard II, Henry IV Part 1, Henry IV Part 2, Henry V, Henry VI in 3 parts, and Richard III. These 8 plays together are considered Henriad. They are excellent works on history play proper, because any age for that matter is interested in history. And Elizabethans were so interested, so much interested, excessively interested in history and mythology. So Shakespeare was actually catering to the contemporary appetite. At the same time, while a mediocre writer or the other writers, while they were making plays as pageantries or just choosing sensational events from history and dramatizing them, like sensationalism in journalism, like our Maniratnam using the Kashmir backdrop to tell a love story, Roja, or Mumbai riot backdrop to tell a love story. That's all. So history was chosen by mediocre dramatists then only as a backdrop or for their sensational appeal, whereas Shakespeare took history as a theme in itself. History as a theme in itself. There are three ways in which Shakespeare approaches. One, the raw history. The second one is Elizabethan view of history. And the third one is Shakespeare's review of Elizabethan history. When I say three views, I don't say that Shakespeare illustrated his review of Elizabethan view of history and satirizing the Elizabethans. No, Shakespeare paid equal importance to raw history, Elizabethan view of history, and his own review of Elizabethan view. You see, then there is a collective faith. It should not be. As again Claudius would say in the play Hamlet, let it be so, madness in great ones should not unwatched go. When the majority feels something, you cannot ignore it. For example, an atheist cannot ignore God. Superstition can be taken away, but the majority, since the majority believe in something, Jean Paul Sartre once said, I am not afraid of God. What I am afraid of, the collective faith of humanity. Like that, you cannot just kick away the popular notion. So Shakespeare gave equal importance to raw history, Elizabethan view of history. Elizabethans had a special view of history. There was a myth of kingship. So Elizabethans viewed history as the myth of kingship. Shakespeare could understand history as a chain of action-reaction. History as a chain of action-reaction. This we find not only in English histories, in the Henriad, in tragedies, in comedies, he does it. Then you may ask me, why did you choose particularly history? Because the history play proper is different from historical tragedies. There is a major paradigm shift between historical tragedies and history play proper. What is it? To point out the major points of difference between historical tragedies and history play proper, we can just consider three things. You can take them home and think, but I mentioned them now. One is, there is the most important thing. There is a shift of focus from moral vision to political experience. We must be very careful now. There is a paradigm shift from moral vision, which is very important for tragic drama or for comedy or for any work of art for that matter. Moral vision, the dramatic meaning. I always suspect that, it's my suspicion, maybe because I'm getting old, my suspicion is that there is, like the Aristotelian conspiracy, there should have been a Broadleyan, A.C. Bradleyan conspiracy. You see, Bradley always goes for moral vision by seeking for hamartia in the character of tragic hero. That's why he considers only 4 plays as major tragedies: Hamlet, Macbeth, Othello, and King Lear, because he was able to point out procrastination, jealousy, ambition, credulity as hamartia, tragic flaw. Since he is not able to find tragic flaw in such characters as Romeo and Juliet, he dismisses Romeo and Juliet as a tragedy. He doesn't say it is not a tragedy. He doesn't consider Romeo and Juliet as a tragedy which is now governing the entire world. You see, the tragedy which is still alive, it may be a minor tragedy. Shakespeare wrote Romeo and Juliet in the same year he wrote The Midsummer Night's Dream, because Shakespeare was viewing in both tones love, in various levels love. And love, as Bharatidasan would say, Adalinal Kadal Seivir Ivulagathore. Aduvandro Ivulaga Talmai Indam, Kadalinal Sagamal Irthal Kudum, Kavanam, Kavalai Po Madanale Maranam Priya. See, you can kill the lovers. I read it from the news, even today, how the wife committed suicide because the husband was killed a few months ago in Prestige, actually whatever you call it, honor killing, stupidity. You see, and that is the theme of Romeo and Juliet. You see, but Bradley does not consider. Aristotelian tragedy will not consider unless it finds a tragic flaw from which it can evolve a moral vision. The hero fell because of this. But Seneca did not try that. Seneca said the hero consciously suffered, like the myth of Sisyphus written by Albert Camus. He consciously suffered because he believed in his cause. He was so convinced in his cause as a noble one. In that sense, now who should we take? Shakespeare has got Machiavelli on one hand and Seneca on the other hand. Machiavelli says end justifies the means, whereas Seneca talks about the free will of the hero, which is driven by the noble cause. Unless it is the noble cause, it cannot be, the free will cannot be held. So what should we do? He does. He finds in the Tudor dynasty, in the emergence of Tudor dynasty, in the character of King Henry V, the birth of a hero, a new hero. See, his father would say, Richard, considered very wrong. There is a tragic flaw in Richard, King Richard, because King Richard considered that kingship for him is a divine gift. His power is unquestionable. Even though he was dethroned by Henry Bolingbroke, who became Henry IV. Henry IV murdered Richard II, which Henry V recalls as his father's sins. As his father's sins. So it is not just political expediency or political necessity. You can just kill somebody who is inside the prison. That's wrong. So there is a touch of moral consciousness in Harry, Prince Hall, who became Henry V, who was there hardly for some 7 years, but during his regime, you see, England, under the banner of England came not only the United England, but also Scotland and France too. He was the best king. What made him the best king? As in the opening of Henry V, the Archbishop of Canterbury and the Bishop of Ely would discuss. One would say that consideration, like an angel, came and whipped the offending Adam out of him. Consideration, the divine power, consideration, like an angel, came and whipped the offending Adam out of him, that all of a sudden he was reformed. Reformation came like a flood. It was like a Christian revelation. It was like a spiritual revelation that overnight Prince Hall, whom we find as a riotous king in the beginning of Henry IV, part 1, became the most powerful king, most disciplined king, the mirror of all Christian kings in Henry V, as the prologue says. Now, is it so? Even the religious head does not feel so. He is altered, changed, and countered by Bishop of Ely, who says, he does not say it is not that, he says it is like the strawberry going beneath the nettle. The strawberry going beneath the nettle. It is getting slowly ripened and full blossom, that one day when it comes out of, when it comes, nummilum sirandadu nuvvayagum. You see, when the plant becomes taller than the bush, one morning you come out to the garden and see overnight the strawberry has grown. It is not so. It was hidden by the bush. We did not see it growing. What a theme, what a beautiful theme. Many parents do not see the children growing up. Henry the Fourth failed miserably as a father and as a king. Henry the Fourth says, had some night-tripping fairy exchanged the children between me and Northumberland, Earl of Northumberland. The son of Earl of Northumberland is Hotspur, who is hailed by the common man, the common rabble, sometimes Shakespeare would call. The mass. The mass hails Hotspur, the antagonist, the valiant son, believed to be valiant son of Earl of Northumberland. But he's like a warlord. He's very ambitious. He is impetuous. One of the negative qualities in the Renaissance man. So people praised Hotspur while belittling Prince Hall as a rioteer king, as a mad prince, as an ale drinker. They said that Hotspur is the straightest plant among the groves. The theme of honored son, fortune's minion. You see the three things? The straightest plant among the grove, which means personal discipline. Then, theme of honored son, the social opinion. If honor were a poet, it would consistently sing only on Hotspur, such an honorable man, honor-driven man. And thirdly, it says, fortune's minion. She is also encouraged and gifted with luck. So, personal discipline, public opinion, and gift, and luck. All these three things has made Hotspur the greatest hero of England. Common man believes. King Henry the Fourth also believes. They fail to see the strawberry going beneath the nettle day by day. But as alert audience of Shakespeare, we understand that in Henry the Fourth Part 1 itself, though Shakespeare did not write it in that order, he first wrote Henry the Sixth Part 2, then Henry the Sixth Part 1, and Henry the Sixth Part 3, and then he moved on to Henry the First, Henry the Fourth Part 1, Henry the Fourth Part 2, and Henry the Fifth. So this Henriad, the life of Henry the Fifth, is the most important thing, where you find the birth of a new hero. This new hero is very practical, street smart. The other kings believed that they should make themselves the thing of rarity. But Prince Hall, when he became Henry V, he had the street knowledge. He knew the street life. He knew the grassroots of society. That was how he could win very easily the French war. You see, Ma'am Femina, please, would you please cut your audio? Thank you, Mr. Femina. Okay. So what happens here is the birth of a new hero can be identified with Henry V. And in the very first soliloquy spoken by Prince Hall in Henry IV Part 1, he makes a beautiful image. He says, herein I will imitate the sun. Herein I will imitate the sun. Herein I will imitate the sun, which will glitter more brilliant when it comes out of the cloud than its original brilliance. When the sun comes out of the cloud, it shines, it appears. It has always been brilliant. But since till then, as a strawberry hidden by the nettle, beneath the nettle, you see, since the sun is covered by the cloud, when it comes out of the cloud, it appears more brilliant than its original brilliance, which makes he is not going to create any exaggerated anticipation in the minds of his Thiruvalluvar. He very beautifully say, if you have a small army, then build your fortress very high. Never let your enemy know what your real strength is. Your adversary know what your strength is. When he talks about Kudi, Kur, Amaichu, Aran, Innangum, you see, these four are needed. Kudi, Makkah, the popular support. Kur, the food product. Henry V says the way in which the king decreases himself will increase the civilization. The way in which the king rules his nation peacefully will make the peasant prosper. You see, it is applicable even now. Even now, it is applicable. The way in which the king keeps his nation peaceful should make the peasant proper. It is not just Shakespeare recollecting the medieval England where you find birds, the ploughman, the suffering of the peasants. Time and again, Shakespeare addresses the agrarian community as the most important community. Sulandrum ஏற்பின்னது உலகு. அதனால் உழன்றும் உழவே தலை. Thiruvalluvar said. Sulandrum. The world can go, the globe can go around, but still, it always should go, it always has to go to follow after peasantry, the agrarian community. So, Prince Hall, when became Henry V, he was so much aware of, unlike Richard II, who thought he was divinely appointed, he considered kingdom as a tool with which he has to serve his society. In the war, when he did not have money, he actually pawned his jewels to pay the salary to the soldiers' family. There, it is history. And also, he was a great runner, and he wouldn't stand in the cliff and give orders by flagging the signal. He would actually run in the front line when he charges. There are so many strategies. When the French outnumbered the English in the French war, when all others were so apprehensive about that, you see, Solalvallan, Sorvilan, Avanai, Igalvallal, Yavarkum Aridu, Thiruvalluvar said. That the good leader must be a great orator. He should also be a philosopher. He should need time for solitude. He must be very decisive, determined, and he must be impartial, objective. At the same time, he must know how to articulate his thoughts. Like the solitude, he should also be a great communicator. And Solalvallan, Sorvilan, untiring communicator. That is what Henry V is. And the seeds of that you find in Henriad when he was the prince. Later, the famous speech. Today you have the one of the world famous speeches is the speech he gave on St. Crispin's Day. St. Crispin's Day. There he says, you see, after having inspired his people, his cousins, his uncles, his soldiers, and everyone to confront the French army in its turf, he was not Judas' goat taking his people to the scaffold for his personal benefit. No. He had a strategy. See, those people were heavily armed, hustling. You see, if here is one English soldier, there are 3 French soldiers. They are hustling with each other. You see, thinking that they were definitely going to defeat. But what Henry V introduced in that war is long bow and arrow. It had never been used before in the war. The long bow and arrow. So without getting near to proximity to the French soldiers, these English soldiers fired the arrows. And the arrows should hit. These people were not even able to retreat. So, like plucking fruits from the tree, many Frenchmen were taken as prisoners of war. And I am not here to describe the war. If you read about the war, the way in which the military strategy was formed, so you find in Henry V a person, warlike Harry, who bears the coat of Mars, who must be like a warring Mars, very courageous. Warlike means courageous. It's not warmongering. Warlike means courageous, brave. Then solitude. She must be a philosopher. She must be able to interpret given the spiritual questions, philosophical questions. He must be a great communicator. Welfare of his people should be his first priority. He should decrease himself to increase. That is why deliberately in the thank you slide, I have given one quotation from a comedy. The Duchess giving the advice to her son after the death of the Duke. You see, in all is well, that ends well, that ends well. Love all, trust a few, do wrong to none. A person, a king, must consider it like the writing on the wall. You are just the custodian of the chair, the throne, the power. You have been appointed by the divine hands to serve your people, not to amass wealth or not to kill others. You must prove your superiority by your power and not by your action. If you read the full quotation from All is Well, That Ends Well, which appears in Act 1, Scene 1, given by the mother to the son who is going away after the death of his father, Duke, you'll understand. You must protect your friends. You must execute your authority by your power, not by your action. You see, you should not. It is all right for a king to have the tyrant's power. In Measure for Measure, Shakespeare again says, it is all right for a king to have the power of a tyrant, but to execute it like a tyrant is wrong. The king should have absolute power, but he should not be corrupted to use his power brutally on his subjects or the inferiors. So Prince Hall emerges as Prince Henry V, as an excellent hero, like the signature shot you find on the scale of Henry IV, Part 1. On one hand, Hotspur is slain in a single combat by Prince Hall. Hotspur was considered to be an unsurmountable warrior. In a single combat, Prince Hall had slain him. On the other hand, lies down, pretending to be dead, Falstaff, who never had any honor. So Prince Hall emerges as a perfect balance. You see, I should say between Hamlet and Hotspur. Not only just between Hotspur and Falstaff. So Henry V becomes a new hero. The street should not hear a person who is focusing only upon the common weal. See, the person who would satisfy every advice given by our Thiruvalluvar about the qualities of a leader, what today you should call as an alpha male. Alpha male. Thank you so much. I took 10 minutes since Mike came to me 10 minutes late. I took 10 minutes. Now it is 7:10. It's now 7:10. If you have any question, you can ask me. Since I'm using only the mobile phone, I'm not able to scroll through the. So can somebody read the question paper if there is any questions from the comments?
Sir, excellent.
If there is any question.
Excellent presentation, sir. It was literally an academic tsunami. That's what I would say. Generally, tsunamis are destructive, and this tsunami is a constructive one. I think it was a reliving experience for me as a student of you. And now it's question session. I think many of them would be eager to ask questions. So use this opportunity to clarify your doubt.
Yes, sure.
Friends, come forward. Sir, one of your student, Kavita,
Yes.
is in the line.
Kavita, it is an honor.
is my senior.
It's an honor to have you here. I still remember how you entered your junior's classroom as an angel after having completed your studies and joined Reserve Bank of India. One day, exactly while I was talking about the character of Falstaff, if I remember right, you see, you walked into the classroom like an angel, and without disturbing the classroom, you occupied a vacant seat. And when I completed my lecture, you smiled at your juniors and just walked out. It was, it was dreamlike.
Even
The
even
time was, yeah.
Sir, it
So,
was like reliving those days. It was a real pleasure to hear you after almost, I think, 20, 25 years. I just closed my eyes and felt like being in Centenary Hall of American College. Thanks a lot and wonderful presentation, sir, because I have been hearing your lectures and every time it is a revealing moment. I get a lot of new things. And this comparison between Shakespeare and Thiruvalluvar and the other one with of Machiavelli and Seneca between Thiruvalluvar and Chanakya, it was an eye-opener. We didn't even know that 1 hour has passed till you mentioned it. It was a pleasure listening to you after a long time, sir. And thanks to Subbu for giving me this opportunity. Sir, you keep rocking, sir. We are still awed.
Kavita,
Kavita, please do ask
using
the
your
question.
presence as a pretext, I should share something with the teachers here. The teachers here, the students here. My personal experience tells me that only the good students make good teachers. All the teachers are scholars. They have read so many things. But it is the students who demand certain things from the teachers that the teachers start improving. The moment I realized that Subramaniam would be there, Rohan Savarimuthu would be there, and especially you would be here, I thought, what else I could say other than the ones which I could have said you while I was teaching history play proper. You see. That was my thought. So it is your presence which makes a teacher better himself or herself. Thank you, Kavita.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, friends, please do ask questions.
Sir,
I
good
have read
evening.
so many things, loose ends. I have left many loose ends. That has become almost my style. So that you will take the loose ends and continue. If you have any question pertaining to that, you can ask me.
Professor, it was really an excellent lecture, and you gave thought-provoking insights to the history plays of Shakespeare. And in Henry V, York says Edward the Third, my lord, had 7 sons. Sir, and in the course of your lecture, you talked about determination. Sir, do you find lack of determination as a kind of weakness in Richard II?
Lack of determination in the character of
In Richard II.
Richard
yes,
II.
yes, sir. Richard II, it is not lack of determination. If you take Richard II and King Lear, you will find some similarity between them. It is they think that the king father is divinely appointed. So they are intolerable towards any question. In the climax, there is a beautiful scene in which Richard II would be standing in Shakespearean theatre, be standing in the balcony like king, you see, and Henry Bolingbroke, who was outcast, exiled by, banished by Richard II, would come along with Northumberland and others, and they would ask, my liege, we would like to see you come down. Then Richard II says, should we come down? Then let us come down. He considers the climbing down to meet people as something belittling to himself. So this is a concept of, I'm reminded of a scene in Ben-Hur, sir. In Ben-Hur, people will be waiting to see Emperor Augustus. It's a huge scaffold platform that the king emperor seated at the far end wouldn't be seen by people who are standing away from the platform, down the platform. So what happens is Augustus gets up and walks downstage to the fourth stage, and people create an ovation, jubilant ovation. Then Augustus just lifts his palm and they grow silent. Then he goes away. That's all. The king should make himself the king of rarity. The king should always be in an ivory tower. Even today, there are many people, many administrators believe that giving audition to their subordinates, to people, would be belittling them. Though even when people come to meet them, they'll make them wait. They'll make them wait. But here, Henry V created a new definition of leadership, mingling with the common folk. This is street smart, which was drastically lacking in the character of Richard II, who thought since he was divinely appointed, he could do anything. And it is, what shall we say, God's decree. God's decree. Definitely there is lack of determination because he was blinded by the divine theory of kingship.
And Richard II says in his last speech, he says when he was imprisoned, from the prison he says, "I wasted time, and now time doth waste me."
It's Macbethian. It's Macbethian. Macbeth realizes after the murder, he says, if our acts can end in themselves, we need not worry. But in the shoals and tides of time, all our actions have consequences. So it is a realization, what you call anagnorisis in Aristotelian concept. Anagnorisis. But the thing is, when anagnorisis, the error in judgment is realized, peripetia has already started happening. The reversal of fortune has already started happening. So, with the realization, the protagonist dies. That's all.
Thank you,
He did
Professor.
not have any other option. Some option like what John Webster's The Duchess had. The Duchess had options. Hamlet had options. But still they pursued. When we talk about tragic grandeur, what tragic grandeur is, at a point, the hero realizes that he is physically fighting a losing battle. But since he is so convinced in his cause, he continues fighting and dies. So this is what determination is. The determination does not come inside the prison. The determination makes one stand his ground even when there is a chance to go away. In that sense, I find Richard II is a tragic figure, not a heroic. He is pathetic, not tragic grandeur is missing in Richard II.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you.
It's just my view.
Thank you, sir.
So good evening. Myself Mala Silvi
Yes.
from Kamadhenu. Sir,
Yes.
it was a wonderful session, and thank you so much for the presentation as well as organizing committee, Subbu sir and his team. And feel proud that I completed my PhD doctoral degree under Subbu sir, and proud to be a CNC student. And my question is, sir, how do Shakespeare's historical plays continue to connect with the modern audiences?
Yes. Precise question. Precise. In the beginning itself, I say there is a difference between historical tragedy and history play proper. And the most important difference is that there is a paradigm shift from moral vision to political expediency, they call it. Political expediency. Expediency means, you know that, but for my satisfaction, I am giving the meaning. Expediency means necessity. There is a soliloquy spoken by Henry V with his sword planted on the ground, tomorrow's eve of battle. He sits kneeling as if holding the cross. He sits and says, are they necessities? Because tomorrow he knows how many people who are now here will return to the camp. How many husbands, how many sons, how many fathers, brothers would die in the battlefield. And he would be responsible for that. But are they necessities? Then let us take them as necessities. This is very important for leadership. A leader should not give place for his personal likes and dislikes, personal whims and fancies. It should be a determination again. It should be a policy decision that he pursues an action. Today, being street smart, being one with your workers. One example is that today business language is that not you do it. It is let's do it or shall we do it? Let's do it or shall we do it? So even the business communication has changed. The conversation has changed. The order form has changed. Today, no one can, not even a teacher, not even a father. Shakespeare's fathers can always be considered, Shakespeare's kings can always be considered as fathers. You see, they have children. And the way in which we have to treat our children, we should allow them to grow. We should allow them to grow, which King Lear doesn't do, which Henry IV doesn't do. They expect their children to grow up the way in which they want them to. They do not allow. It is very much applicable, relevant today to business world as well as to the domestic life. Because that is the quality of leadership. The leader should today, how to govern, how the entrepreneurship is, how you should not be bossing around. I should not be bossing around. I must rule without being there really. My presence, I must be almost oblivious. The boss must be almost oblivious to the eyes of the subordinates. But the things should be get done. That's why they don't insist even on 9-to-5 job. They have only target. They fix the target and you reach it. In Microsoft, in the first year, in the top floor, Microsoft working space is there. In the ground floor, there is a bar. And many people go to the bar during the break and have a cup, tin of beer and then continue working. They don't ask whether you come neck-tied or whether you come wearing shirts. These things are immaterial. Do you get things done? So each and every individual treated as an individual would result in a better product. What shall I say? Produce better result. I don't advocate today's corporate psychology that is different from what Shakespeare talks about, modern revisionist cult entrepreneurship, revisionist cult leadership, revisionist cult leadership. That is different. Today's entrepreneurs have not understood what an employer should be. That is pathetic. The corporate psychology is like a foxy nature. That's all. That's a different story. But still, but Shakespeare, not only Shakespeare, Thiruvalluvar is also very much relevant today for the art of management.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah,
Sir, though we have been hailing Henry V as the greatest leader as he is, but doesn't he have his own crosses to carry? Like, I don't know whether it's appropriate to say, because I have a soft corner for Falstaff. Okay, so like I don't know whether it will be proper to say he used Falstaff, who later on dies heartbroken. How do we justify that?
You say that he used people like Falstaff, Foynes,
Yes.
Bardolph, and
Yeah.
later on he, when he raised up in status,
Yeah,
he
he just
disowned
did.
his mates,
Yeah.
common men who actually helped him grow.
Yes, sir.
That's the question. Very good question. Very good question. Never. I tell you 3 instances. I tell you. First instance, Falstaff steals and he runs into the inn when Prince Hall is there. Prince Hall asks him to hide in behind the arras, and he goes to the sheriff who has come there with monstrous watch to catch Falstaff. And when the sheriff sees Prince there, the sheriff is very reluctant. And the sheriff asks him if Falstaff is there. Prince Hall dismisses the sheriff, saying, if he comes, I will let you know who go. And Prince Hall returns to reprimand, to admonish Falstaff. He finds Falstaff behind the arras, fast asleep, like a small child. So Prince Hall is not able to scold him. This is something beginning. This is something. Falstaff asks him to accompany him in waylaying. That is the first soliloquy. Me, who, the thief? See, that's what he says. Then the soliloquy begins. Herein I will imitate the sun. You see, then finally, the last straw to put the camel down, we say. Prince Hall has been, what shall I say, tolerating, putting up with Falstaff because he understands Falstaff as a man who has been more sinned against, who is like an old man, disowned. So he keeps company with him, with Falstaff. What happens is he trusts Falstaff and gives him money. But Falstaff hires people who are going to die the next day. And Falstaff has his so-called justification for hiring such minstrels. And they should have caused an irreparable damage to the victory of Prince Hall. But still Prince Hall forgives him even in that war. A decisive battle should be fought between the king and the rebels. But Prince Hall takes it in his hand and fights with the small boy King John. He's Prince John. He fights the battle and wins it. And after having killed Hotspur, Prince Hall moves away, you see, to meet his brother who is bleeding, young boy, bleeding. And Falstaff carries Hotspur's body and tells Prince Hall that he has killed Hotspur. And Prince Hall doesn't respond to that at all. Okay, go and get the reward from the king. And John says, it is the strangest story I have ever heard. And Prince Hall smilingly answers, it is the strangest fellow you have ever met. So he lets Falstaff go as long as it does not harm the common weal. But what happens is, after having become the king, while Prince Hall now as a king for Henry V, when he goes on his train, Falstaff has already collected extorted money from others, saying that he would recommend their cast to the prince. And in the public floor, she calls, "Hey, prince, back, sweet back." You see, he rushes to Prince Hall. That is the last thing Prince Hall expected. King Henry V expected. Falstaff has been doing all kinds of damages to the kingdom, to the position, to the power, you see, to the ruler. When the ruler is affected, the subjects will be affected, the national discipline will be affected, especially when the ruler decreases himself to increase others and coaching, you see. And what happens is, then only Prince Hall, as King Henry V says, "Presume not, I am the thing that I was." And lines go, "I know thee not, get lost." He makes a brief arrest of Falstaff and lets him go. He doesn't put Falstaff inside prison for a long time. We come to know through the inn owner, you see, Mrs. Quickly telling her friends how Falstaff died, and even the description of Falstaff as Mrs. Quickly is rather satirical and humorous than being pathetic. So Falstaff exceeded his limit. He was causing all kinds of damages. So for the common weal, for welfare and discipline, Prince Hall had to banish him, as he suggested in Henry IV Part 1. He suggested in Henry IV Part 1. He did not want to do that, but he was forced, he was pushed to the corner that he banished him from his life. That's all. He could not carry him. It is like charlatanism. It would be like nepotism. What our politicians do. Machans and Mamans are kept nearby, and they are encouraged. That's only detrimental to the state. So for the welfare of the state, Prince Hall, as Henry V, banished Falstaff from his life. That is how we should understand this.
Okay, sir, got it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Kavita. So we have a whole lot of Sri Lankan students, and they are just typing out a few questions.
Please.
Meanwhile, I think if there are anyone who wants to put forth any question, you can ask. Is there anyone?
Good evening, sir. This is Ambika from CNC, sir.
Welcome.
Really spellbounded And your session reminds of the veteran Professor Rajani, the action.
Rajani, have you heard Professor Dr. Rajani?
I'm a student of Rajani, sir.
Very good,
Really,
very good.
thank you, sir.
We shared a platform once. We shared a
Yeah,
platform. Nice
sir.
man, no more. Very
Yes,
nice person. Very
yes,
nice
sir.
person.
Sir, and out of curiosity, I want to ask a question because I'm a follower in FB page and your character analysis of the movies and those things are very phenomenal. Who is your favorite Shakespeare character and why? That's my question, sir.
uh,
From a
many, but Shakespeare has created so many characters which we have to follow. But if you ask me who my favorite character is, who is very close to my heart, he is Hamlet. Hamlet, you see. And whom do I admire as a victor, as a hero, is of course Prince Hall, Henry V. And which play I like the most, the best is A Midsummer Night's Dream. And which female character I admire incurably is Rosalind from As You Like It. Have I answered many questions?
Yes, thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir.
So,
And Subbu sir for organizing the event and
It just
enlightening.
comes out from my heart, Ma'am Ambika, comes out from my heart. Imagine a 25-year-old person, a prince, you see, a prince, always being haunted by the noises from inside because of his moral value. He's good. That's the only thing. That's the only thing. As a
Yes, sir.
misfit, someone who wants to set right. At one point, Hamlet says, you see, the time is out of joint. Who cuts its pipe that I was ever made to set it right? You see, why can't I live like a common young man, like Laertes, like anybody? Why am I given burdened with this? But he pursues his journey. That is where he astonishes me as a hero, as a good man, as a good man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. It's 1 hour. Like we even more. We heard here to more, sir. Indeed, again, I request Subbu sir to organize one more session, sir, in the upcoming event, sir. Thank you, sir.
so thank you, Ambika. And so I'd like to read the question. This is from
Yes.
Trishanta Supun, a student of Dr. Rohan from Sri Lanka. And the question is, can you explain more about the reason of nihility of Virgil in university curriculums?
Just a
Can you,
minute.
can you
Come again.
Can you explain more about the reason of nihility, Nihility, of
Nihilism,
Virgil,
nihilism,
of
nihilism.
Virgil, Virgil,
Nihilism in
of Greek Virgil, sir. Virgil,
Virgil.
VIR, yeah,
Virgil.
Virgil,
What you mean? The Roman epic writer Virgil.
yes, sir.
Yeah.
Virgil in university curriculum.
Virgil in
University curriculum.
university curriculum. See, universities prescribe Virgil's Aeneid. We too have in American college Virgil's Aeneid. Aeneid is generally taken for the nihilist work because they are traveling. This is how perhaps, if I am not audacious, I should say, let us understand the terms in the proper sense, in the original sense. Like Stoicism. Stoicism is not pessimism. Nihilism stands here for being uprooted, moving around. It is not just seeking pleasure alone. It is not just seeking pleasure alone. Today, in modern context, we may think that nihilism is like some bohemianism with pleasure. But even Albert Camus ought to be understood as beyond nihilism. Beyond nihilism. It is something like classical nihilism. So, nihilism in Virgil's Aeneid is not about the personal love between Aeneas and Dido alone. It is about human honesty. It is about honor. And there is the battle between his personal, what shall we call, the archaic conflict between love and duty. Virgil uses epithets. Epic always uses epithets for its listeners. It came in oral tradition. Virgil started with literary tradition, that's different, but epithets, epics started with oral tradition, primary epics. So they would use epithets. For example, Achilles would be called Achilles of the nimble feet. Ulysses would be called Ulysses of the nimble wit. Like that, Calchas would be called Calchas of honey tongue. Like that, Aeneas would be called Aeneas the true. When Aeneas is in love with Dido and is in Carthage, very purposefully, Virgil stops calling him the true, which means Aeneas' purpose, Aeneas' mission of life. I have given that word in my PPT. You see, your mission is your message. Your mission is your meaning. Like that. Aeneas' mission is to find a settlement for the Trojans after the sack of Troy. But Aeneas forgets it and spends some time to satisfy himself with the Carthaginian queen, Dido. And Virgil stops calling him Aeneas the true. Your purpose. Yesterday, Rajaram sir talked about the opening lines of Antony and Cleopatra. You see, the opening lines of Antony and Cleopatra, he reads like this: nay, but. You see, very important. Nay, no. In media, it is not just medias res. It's not just beginning from the middle. It says about an incongruity, an inability to conclude. Nay, but this dotage of our general overflows its measure. When something overflows, what happens? There is glass of water. I have this glass of water on the table. When the glass of water overflows, what happens? Drink is wasted. When you say drink is wasted, I can say it is my table, my drink. What is it to you? But when the drink overflows, it spoils the circumference. So an emperor is not supposed to indulge in his personal whims and fancy. That is the only problem with Antony in his love affair with Cleopatra, because his mission was something different. Like that, when Aeneas indulges in love, Virgil stops calling him Aeneas the true. In that sense, there is a conflict between nihilism. I'm not sure. I think I have understood your question properly. Have I? Subramanian, this
Yes,
was
sir.
the question. Why universities, Virgil's nihilist?
Yes,
Why
sir.
do they have it? Why do
Yes,
they
sir.
have
Yes,
it?
sir.
Yeah. This is the reason. It talks about duty. But we remember Aeneas
Yes.
as the lover, Dido
He,
as the lover, more as the king or the queen.
yeah, he is satisfied, sir. He has texted. Thank you very much. So, any more questions? Is there anyone who wants to put forth any question to sir? We have Chandramohan sir, a senior professor here. Sir, would you like to ask any questions, sir?
Don't ask people to ask questions.
Anyone else? Yeah, voice is, yeah, Vanita ma'am is there. Ma'am, not audible.
Can I utter a word of thanks?
Yeah, sure. A bit louder, please.
I'm Vanita, Velala College for Women. Sir, I've been thinking of what to say. I was spellbound. Words fail me actually, so that's the reason for the delay. Awe-inspiring is the only word I can recall in the complimentary sense of the term. It's very interesting to know from your speech, that too in your inimitable style, how Seneca integrated, how Shakespeare integrated Seneca in his historical tragedies, and how he treats and transforms his Senecan legacy into complex analysis of the binaries and I can say, polarities that are inherent in an individual, which makes for his rise or fall. If I have understood you correctly, your speech aptly interspersed with the knowledge and wisdom of Thiruvalluvar supplements this investigation into far-reaching dimensions and proportions, Professor. Indeed, your speech would drive most of the audience to have a second reading of Shakespeare's history plays, especially Henry V, to witness the birth of the modern hero. Thank you for giving such a wonderful experience. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I think we have some of our staff members also. Velusamy, sir, would you like to ask any question?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Yasmin? So, Sindhu, why don't you ask a question? Vellalar Sindhu?
Why are you asking people to ask questions?
Sir, for the 1.5 hours, it was like a cascade of thoughts. So I was mesmerized. I'm still in that, sir. I don't have any questions. I'm really sorry. I'm awestruck. That is the thing.
Yeah, this is Yasmin, sir, from Kongu Engineering College.
Yes, sir.
So it was great.
I'm proud to say that I'm a student of your student, sir. That is my proud moment to say actually.
Thank you very much. I think.
Please ask questions now from the treasure of knowledge. We can know more. So that's why, sir, from yourself. Yes, sir. And I wish to thank our head of the department, Karthikeyan sir, and Subramaniam sir, for the wonderful opportunity. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, sir.
So thank you. I think it's almost we are at the end of the session, and since no one is willing to ask any question, we'll just wind up. Sir, it was a wonderful session, and I would like to thank you wholeheartedly for having come and graced this occasion. And it's not an ordinary day because Madurai is witnessing a great celebration, and the streets are crowded, and the moon is full today. So it's a real wonderful occasion to celebrate Shakespeare. And really, one thing that struck me as far as your lecture is your body language. Once upon a time, especially seniors used to say, I think some of you need to know that sir is also a karate black belt holder. So whenever he speaks, whenever he lectures, I think most of his actions, body language, okay, it imitates a karate punch or something like that. That's what I would say.
It is stated.
Anyhow, it was a real enjoyable occasion, and I would like to thank you made me proud. That's what I would say, because everyone are very happy. So thanks a lot, sir. Have a great night, and I thank all the members who were present here and who are present here. And I would like to thank the Department of English, CNC, for having supported me to hold this session. And I would like to thank Rajaraman sir, Chandramohan sir, and some of the senior professors who are here. So thank you, everyone. And let us remember this session forever. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot, sir.
Just,
yes, sir.
I would like to thank
you,
Lavanya, your student, for
yes,
being the technical assistant.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Lavanya. Thank you so much.
Lavanya?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
And I also would like to thank the event organizer. Actually, there is a technical person. He is the king of everything, Amsavardhan. So thank you, Amsavardhan. Thank you, sir.